SULSA, as I mentioned, is the Scottish Universities Life Sciences Alliance. We are a strategic partnership of 12 member universities across Scotland. And really we see ourselves as a gateway into the connected and vibrant life sciences research community. We are there to support yourselves and to support kind of students, researchers and academics at our member universities. We do this in a variety of different ways. We really see ourselves as a platform to try and leverage investment, influence policy, and create opportunities such as the one that we're going to talk about today. Our kind of objectives is to drive cross-university, multidisciplinary, cross-sectoral collaboration. We're really big drive on collaboration and in creating opportunities for our life scientists, particularly our early career researchers, and also to improve kind of access to these opportunities as well. And then finally, our final objective is kind of to promote the amazing research that's happening across our member universities. And we try to do that in a variety of different ways as well. So there we go. So we kind of have three pillars that we're working off of at the minute, and that's underpinned by a fourth. So those three main things that we're looking at is international network building. We have kind of a program of activities around each of these to help achieve those goals. The second one is industry engagement, whether that's from a collaboration point of view or an employability point of view. And then also inter and multidisciplinary working and network building. So they're kind of the three, I guess, pillars that all of our activity fits into one of those for the most part. And then that's all underpinned by an inclusive and diverse research culture. We know how important this is, and something that we are really beginning to look at introspectively within SULSA, to make sure that what we're doing ourselves is inclusive and reaches a wide diversity of people, and then also to help promote that and help kind of run initiatives and stuff to support that kind of wider reach. And so kind of starting with that, I think traditionally SULSA has been viewed as kind of a biomedical research community. And so we're wanting to move away to that to make sure that all of our life scientists feel represented by SULSA. So we've kind of vaguely categorized life sciences into human, plant, animal, and microbe. That includes the environment as well, and the organisms that live within the environment. And so, yeah, that's just an important part that we want to kind of stress, and that we really want to get the messaging out there that we are inclusive of all life scientists, and we want you all to feel like you are part of our community. So that's just kind of a little bit of an introduction about SULSA. We have just kind of launched our next generation in September this year. So some of these are kind of strategic changes that we've made as a result of that I just wanted to let you know about. Then moving on to what you have all joined to hear about today, which is our ECR Development Fund. So this is the aim of this fund, is to support postdoctoral researchers with developing their independent career. That's kind of the bottom line of what we're trying to do through this development fund. It is a really popular funding call that we run, and so because of that we do have some restrictions in terms of eligibility, and we do have, you know, quite a decent application form that needs to be filled out in order to help us with kind of shortlisting applicants, and I'll talk you through all of that. So in short, the ECR development call, how much? It's up to £4,000 per applicant, and we are aiming to fund about 5 applicants this year. It is for activity to support the development of your independent career. This can be done in a variety of ways, but the project must fulfill one of these aims. So it must result in building a new collaboration, or focus on building a new collaboration, training or upskilling of yourself as the applicant, or the generation of pilot data and or development of the pathway, the commercialization pathway for a piece of research. And for who? It's for postdoctoral researchers interested in establishing their own academic group, which I probably should have spelled right on the slides. So just kind of a little bit more detail about that in terms of the eligibility. So it is for postdoctoral researchers, but we do ask that it's a minimum of 2 years post-PhD. We figure that that's kind of the most likely time that you will be starting to think about maybe applying for fellowships or for these kinds of funding applications to kind of get your own independent career started. All of these guidelines were developed with our early career research committee. And so they've helped us kind of build up the criteria for this, but we do always welcome feedback and to understand ways that we can support through these funding calls. So please do send us any feedback, because if we get a huge demand to extend this out, then we might be able to do something. On top of the eligibility for yourself as a postdoctoral researcher, minimum of 2 years post-PhD. It's also required that there is at least one other co-applicant on the application form. And this can be from industry, from academia, from anywhere else in the public sector, from education. And the application requires a letter of support from the collaborator and the PI. So the funding itself, it can be used for travel, it can be used for consumables, for training, facility access. We have quite an open brief in terms of what that funding can be used for. Please do check with us beforehand if there's something that you would like to use the funding for and you're unsure of. Please do let us know, and actually you will probably need to check with your institution as well. So how it works is that if you are awarded the funding, we will transfer the money over to your institution, and you will have access to the fund through your institution finance. So if there are restrictions from their side, there's very little that we can do once the funds have been transferred across. So if there is something in particular that you want to use the funding for and you're not sure of it, please contact us and your local finance team as well to ask them whether that's possible or not. And in terms of that, the money then needs to be spent within 12 months. So it'll be awarded by the end of January 2023. And so the funds will need to be spent by the end of January 2024. The judging, so we have a few different things that we look at when judging this, and the review process is done by our executive committee, which are senior academics from each of our member universities. Excuse me. So the judging will be done on your project feasibility and objectives. And you'll see in the application, this is kind of broken down in the application form, each of these sections as well. The novelty and importance of the research, the track record of the applicant, and the impact that this project in particular will have for the applicant in developing their independent career and the wider community as well. And then the support and sustainability for this project. So, is there support there from your PI and from the collaborator? And is there sustainability? Are there other kind of funding opportunities that you're looking at in order to continue on this project? So, does it have a bit of longevity in it? Or we like to fund things that, can then continue on and can continue to grow and build from this initial funding. That's something that we really like to see happening, and we like to see our applicants progress through and secure other funding or other opportunities off the back of this. So to get into the application form then, the first page of it, you'll see here, so this is just some general information about yourself. So yeah, putting in your department, institute, your school within it, it's quite important for us to understand that at SULSA internally, in terms of, just our funding structure in that. So it's important for us to know what department and school you're coming from, and then which university, obviously, that you're in as well. And you must attend one of our member universities. So we have 12 member universities, they're listed here. You must attend one of these universities in order to be eligible for the funding call. So the application form, there's quite a few questions in it. It does require a bit of detail, so do make sure to take some time to do that. So I'm just going to go through each of the questions now and kind of give a little bit of an idea of what we are looking for, what we're asking for that, and what we want you to focus on within those questions. So the first one is to please outline your proposed activity. That's the what, why, and who. What you're proposing to do, why it is important to do that work, and who is going to benefit from the work. That's really what we want to get from there. We know that you're all brilliant scientists. We trust that you're all really good scientists. Having a lot of technical jargon within that piece might not be favorable. It's really important to understand why this work needs to be done, who it's going to benefit, and how you're going to carry out the project. We do want some of the scientific detail, but it doesn't need to be very granular in that sense. We want a nice outline of what you're planning to do, why it's important to do it, and who's going to benefit from it. And again, there is quite tight word limits on that, so just be mindful of that when completing your application. You will then get a table which will ask you for the milestones of your project, including outputs and with dates on it. So this will be a table that you'll fill out, and this is basically a breakdown of the project. You've given us an outline in the first about what you want to do and why it's important, and then you're going to tell us how you're going to achieve that. So write down the steps that are needed to complete the project. Please make sure to include outputs on that. So, if you're going to have developed a new assay or a new method or something like that, include that as an output or an outcome from that particular step. If there's then going to be, if this is going to be presented at a scientific conference, at like a group meeting, at an internal meeting, stuff like that, we want to know that. We want to know that you've really thought through, how you're going to do this project and how you're going to disseminate information about it or get across some of the skills that you've learned, that type of thing. So do pay a bit of attention to that. What is the planned line of research? How is it novel, and why is it important? And I've actually put them in bold, because oftentimes we get a lot of detail about what the planned line of research is, what you're actually planning to achieve with this project. But it's not always conveyed why it's how it's novel or why it's important to do this kind of work. So I put here underneath, this question is really asking, why should this project be funded over another project potentially, right? Why is this project an important project for us to fund at SULSA? And then another one that is connected to that is, how will your proposed activity support your independent track into this area of research? And that's basically asking, why should we fund you? And I mean, not fund you over another, because I don't want you to feel like this is in direct competition, but that's essentially what it comes down to. So why is this important? What will this project, being able to get this funding and to complete this project, how is that going to support your independent, your track into your independent career? The next one then is asking about your collaborator, and how is your collaborator going to support your success, and what skills and expertise are being exchanged? And the question of this is, what does this collaboration do that you cannot do by yourself? Why is it important to collaborate on this? And so please focus on the skills and the expertise being exchanged, not just the expertise of the collaborator. That your collaborator could have 20, 30 years experience in a particular field and will have a range of expertise that will come as a result of that. And that's brilliant. But we want to know what you're going to get out of the collaboration. What is the importance of you working with this collaborator for this project? What do they bring to the table, and how is that going to support you? With all of the questions, we want to know how this is going to help yourselves, because although we are funding the project, what we're really funding is you as a researcher, and supporting that development of your career. The next question then is to please provide a list of achievements that make you an eligible candidate for this award. You can put down a maximum of 10 for this. And again, this is a question of us asking, why should we fund you? Well, why are you a good candidate for us to fund with this? Please put it in order of relevance. It doesn't have to be in chronological order. Put it in what you think is most relevant, or the things that you would like to highlight the most to us. And this can include publications, awards, and other grants, but also, if you have done some outreach activities, if you are a member of external committees, if you do things, if you are doing continued professional development to support your career, and you have kind of evidence of that, add in those kind of things as well. It's not just about having that kind of impact from publications and awards, although they are really useful and they will strengthen your application, but it's not the only thing that we're looking for. The next set of questions then is asking, what is the benefit to you, the applicant? So again, how will this have an impact on you? So some of it is, so the kind of previous questions were, why should we fund you? You know, like why should this pot of money go to you and what you're trying to do with your independent career? This now question is asking, what is the benefit going to be to you? If you get awarded this money to carry out this project, what impact is that going to have on you? How is that going to help support you? And we really want to hear about that. We really want to know how this will have an impact on you. It's a really important question, and something that we care about quite a lot at SULSA. And then what is the benefit to the wider community across sectors and disciplines? So as I explained at the start, SULSA is a strategic partnership of 12 member universities. So we really just want to know, how will this funding benefit others? How will it help add to scientific literature potentially? How will this help with the commercialization of a project? How will this help, you know, maybe it's something that can be used by the public, anything like that that has a wider benefit outside of you and your kind of career goals or your research goals. What is the benefit of that? And so please let us know about these things. Again, there's quite tight word limits on a lot of these. And so, you know, we're absolutely fine with, you know, a lot of people choose to do this in a paragraph style. But we're also very happy for you to list things out, happy for you to underline keywords or make them bold, you know, anything like that in terms of the format of it. Again, we're quite open to that. So you can do it in a way that makes the most sense for yourselves, just once you're answering those key questions throughout the application. The final section then, you'll be glad to hear, is the final section of the application, and that's talking about the budget allocation. So again, it just asks you to give a breakdown of the costs involved in the project. So, you know, let us know that. And then let us know if you have secured any other funding, whether it's a matching funding or in-kind funding. So if someone is offered to give up time or run samples for you or provide their expertise, anything like that, that is being provided in addition to what we will give for it. And then also identify where this award might enable you to leverage funds from. So if you're using this to generate pilot data to then go and apply for, you know, another UKRI grant or for a fellowship or something like that, let us know that. Let us know your plans and your intentions with this moving forward. Again, it's really important. This funding call is there to support early career researchers to build their independent careers. So we really want to know what your plans are for that, and how this funding might actually help you in achieving those goals or reaching those goals. So just to go through some of the common mistakes that we get, a lot of the time we get a huge amount of focus on the technical details of the project. We want to know about the project. We want to know, you know, about the scientific feasibility of the project. But it's really about the impact of it. It's understanding why it's important. It's understanding the novelty of the work. It's understanding the impact that it's going to have on you and the wider community. And you'll see that that is specifically asked in the questions. Another one is not selling yourself. You know, you've gotten this far. That's not by chance that you've gotten this far in your career. And we have every faith that you're going to do incredible things with your career. So, you know, sell yourself, be confident about it, sell yourself, go in, let us know why you deserve this funding or why we should fund you. Just, yeah, don't sell yourself short, really is a common mistake that we get. Again, not understanding the impact of the funding. We want to know that's a big thing for us, is we want to know what the impact is going to be. Are we funding something that then is going to be a project that goes on for 6 months and then nothing is ever done on it again? That's not something that we're particularly interested in. We want to fund something that is going to have a big benefit to you as a researcher and is going to have a benefit or an impact in the wider community. Be as specific as you can, so we get a few vague answers that will be like, this will really support my career as I apply for fellowships. But maybe highlight, you know, is there a couple of fellowships in particular that you would like to go for? You know, when is the next funding round for those types of things? Any sort of specifics like that really shows us that you've taken the time to look into these things and that, you know, you have kind of a clear plan in mind of what you want to do. That plan might not go the way that you expect it to go. I mean, in research, it usually doesn't go the way you expect it to go, but we want some specific answers on what you're planning to do and what you want to do. And then finally is not understanding the question. So you will see from the questions, some of them do look, I guess, a little bit similar. I've tried to break them down a little bit in the previous kind of few minutes in between my coughing fits. So just take the time to really read the question and understand it. We are also kind of internally at SULSA doing a thing to change some of our applications to make this really clear and accessible what we're asking for in each question. And holding these information sessions to kind of give a little bit more detail to them as well. So please do read the question and have a think about what is specifically being asked within that question and try to answer it to the best of your ability. So reporting then is the next big thing, and it is a hugely important thing at SULSA. We spend a lot of our time gathering data and outcomes and putting together reports and reporting back to our university members. This is a really, really important part of kind of the work that we do, because it is what we use as an evidence base to continue our own funding so that we can continue funding you. So it's all kind of, you know, a domino knock-on effect. So for reporting, you'll be asked to do an end of project report, which will be fairly standard. We will then follow up about a year after the project has completed, because we understand that, you know, you might have spent the duration of the project generating the data or setting up the collaboration or getting the training, whatever it is that you need to do, that you'll have spent the duration of the project doing that. And so it might take a little bit of time for some of the outputs to come out from that. So we will follow up with you about a year after the completion of the project. And that is to ask then if there's been any other outcomes or outputs from it, you know, how have things moved forward in the year since the project ended. And if in the meantime or times after that or whatever, that there are outputs from it, there's publication, grants, meetings, anything like that, please let us know. We really love to hear from the people that we have funded. We really love to hear, you know, how you're getting on after the funding, how your project has maybe continued. Like, this is your community. SULSA is your community. We genuinely care and are really passionate about the work that we do. And we put a lot of time and effort into everything that we do. And so for us, it's a great little buzz to hear, to just get an email being like, hey, just wanted to let you know that the funding I got in 2019, we've now published a paper on it. That is something that like just lights up our day. We really, really enjoy hearing about these little successes and celebrating them with you. And also then we can use it as evidence to help our own cause of keeping ourselves in jobs. And then finally, as part of our work to create a more inclusive and diverse research culture, we're doing quite a lot of internal work on that. And so after the application process is ended, so after we have awarded all of the projects, we'll send around a demographic survey to everybody that applied. Again, this is just to capture who we are reaching, who's applying for our applications, if they are accessible to our wider community. And then we can start looking at ways to improve that again, if there are particular areas where we're lacking in that. So my final slide is the deadline. So the deadline is 5 p.m. on the 11th of January, 2023. So you will need to send the application form, which you can find on the SULSA website. I meant to put the link up there, but I can pop the link in the chat. So the application form, a copy of your CV, a letter of support from your collaborator, your co-applicant, and a letter of support from your principal investigator. And all of that needs to be compressed into a single PDF and then sent through to Jill, who is our Senior Operations Officer. If you have any questions or concerns, you're welcome to contact myself. I can stick my email in the chat or contact Jill about it. And we wish you all of the best of luck in your applications.